When I think upon your goodness and your faithfulness each day, I'm convinced it's not because I am worthy to receive the kind of love that you give, but I'm grateful for your mercy. And I'm grateful for your grace, and because of how you poured out yourself, I have come to sing this song out in praise. Imela, oh, Imela, Okaka,
My Lord,
who am I to sing your praises?
who am I to worship you, Lord?
Who am I to worship you?
Yeah,
It's your blood that makes the difference in me,
and made a way.
made a way to enter into your throne. I could not come near your presence.
I could never sing your song, Lord.
Never sing your song.
Yeah,
But the sacrifice on Calvary's tree
is the reason.
is the reason I can
Cry out today. Imela, yeah, yeah.
International Academy for Alternative Dispute Resolution is an international organization that convenes universities from all over the world each year. And this year it was hosting the 15th annual international tournament on mediation. The competition was hosted in Chicago at the University of Loyola Law School. That's where it was hosted. The university comprised of universities from Ireland, Austria, Australia, Germany, Great Britain, Ukraine, and the United States as well. Herbert Chitepa Law School was one of the participants in this competition. Now, not only was it the first time for a Zimbabwean university to take part, but also the first time for an African institution altogether to take part in these competitions. So one can understand the extent to which we can say our students were pioneers in every sense just by attending this competition. Now, one must understand the extent of difficulty the students had in preparing for this competition. The Herbert Chitepa Law School is hardly 3 years in existence, and mediation as a form of alternative dispute resolution is a module that these students have not yet gone through or learned, so to put it. This created an atmosphere quite difficult in their preparation, in that not only did they have to prepare for a competition, but they also had to independently read ahead to come to terms with mediation and alternative dispute resolution at large. Speaking as a coach, the competition was most difficult. The atmosphere was very intense. Most of the students there attended with a very competitive attitude, which is something that perhaps contributed positively to my students. I recall very vividly One time when we were having lunch in Chicago, and the students resolved that they were not going to go back home without anything. This was without my input. This was without anyone having spared them to come to that conclusion. But they just, told themselves that, look, we can't go home empty-handed. Yes, the odds are against us. Yes, we are the underdogs coming to this competition, but we must go home with something, no matter how small. And I was so impressed with their resolve. I was so impressed with their demeanor coming into this competition. But that aside, one must then just look at the lack of support that they had coming into the competition. From the word go, all other institutions were looking down on Great Zimbabwe University. It's an African institution from Zimbabwe. What kind of competition could they possibly offer at such a grand tournament? But to their surprise, our students walked away holding third prize and individual prizes as well for best advocates, best mediator, which is something that just totally blew these guys away. Also, I think there was a greater degree of hardship on the African students because none of the judges in that competition were African or had any ties with Africa, such that there was no sympathy for these African students. With other universities, you would have judges who have sat either as appellate judges in the States or who have some form of expertise in mediation, be it in America, be it in Europe, be it in Asia, India. You had judges who would ordinarily have some inclination towards seeing their own students or students from their own countries advancing to the next round. And our students had none of that. So the way the competition progressed was that you had the first set of rounds, which comprised of three different rounds. The students would first act as advocates. They would secondly act as clients. And lastly, they would also act as mediators. These were the first three rounds. And thereafter, they would then announce the participants that would have progressed to the round of 16, which is what they call their semi-final rounds. In the semi-final rounds, you would then have 16 out of the initial 51 teams that would progress to that next stage. And there was almost deaf silence when Great Zimbabwe University was called out amongst the top 16 universities to progress to the semi-final rounds. And in all honesty, we weren't prepared for the semi-final rounds. I think we had less than 30 minutes to gear our minds for the semi-final rounds because they were held within the next hour after those announcements. So we just had no more than 30 minutes to prepare. And to my surprise, again, these kids just rose to the level, to the expected standards. They just did something completely unbelievable. Now comes the time of announcing the finalists. Great Zimbabwe again made it into that round. And this time, people were now cheering for Great Zimbabwe. People were now congratulating Great Zimbabwe for even having made it that far. You could see people had come out of their shells. People were a lot more comfortable with relating to the students in comparison to the beginning, where it was more a sympathetic approach to the students. Now they were really looking at them as peers. Now they were really looking at them as competent students who really know what they are doing in this competition. To then come out third against all of this adversity, against all of these odds, was nothing short of sheer talent, sheer brilliance, and I would like to think a bit of luck. But I take away nothing from these students. Their demeanor, their composure, their courage in standing up in those rooms, speaking freely, their fluency and command of the English language was absolutely amazing, absolutely stunning. And if they could do that in America, I just wait to see what more they can do in more international competitions to follow. So on behalf of the Great Zimbabwe University, on behalf of the staff, on behalf of the law school, I'd just like to congratulate our students for having performed so wonderfully, having performed so outstandingly and having brought back home so many trophies.
My name is Ivy Matsio. I'm a second year student at Great Zimbabwe University, Hebej Tepo Law School. When you're talking about the competition, the first most important thing I think we should mention is the fact that it was such a wonderful opportunity that the university gave us, and I'd like to thank Great Zimbabwe University for this opportunity that they gave us. Well, the atmosphere there was quite intimidating, especially for myself, because I'm so young. I'm 18, amongst so people who are so experienced, third year, fourth year students, and especially the fact that in Europe and in the United States, the education system is quite different. So you might find someone who's a third or fourth year student, but they're 27 or 30 or 31. So it was quite intimidating. But the morality, the moral boost we gave each other as teammates, the faith that people back at home had in us, as well as God's grace, allowed us to do what we did. And for me, it was quite amazing because I was able, in fact, to be recognized as the 8th best overall advocate client team with my teammate Blissful Zimiri. So I'll take back so much from this, and hopefully I'll be able to impact whatever I would have learned to my other classmates and even those who are above me. And
my name is Blissful Zimiri. I'm a second year student at Hebej Tepo Law School, Great Zimbabwe University. This semester I'm going to be in Tutu. First of all, I'd like to thank on behalf of the university, on behalf of Hebej Tepo Law School, on behalf of our team, I would like to thank Great Zimbabwe University as a whole for funding this trip and for giving us all the support that we needed, because we got to learn a lot of skills in mediation. We got to have that interaction and exposure at a place that is most ideal. The experience itself was wonderful. We got to meet wonderful people and we saw wonderful places, but above all, we are also grateful that this support encouraged us to come back with something home. We were shocked, that's the honest truth. We weren't expecting to win awards and trophies for the university, but then through God's grace and especially teamwork, we managed to do that, because I'll acknowledge that it was a tense atmosphere, being surrounded by people that are first-class experts in mediation, people who are world champions in mediation as a module, mediation as a practice. We felt that we were not going to take back much home, but then by God's grace, we managed to win trophies and awards on behalf of the university. We hope that with this trip, we're going to be able to educate our fellow colleagues on mediation. We are also going to be able to fly the flag of Africa higher than we've already flown it. And also that before we went, we mentioned that one of the promises was that we're going to ensure that we're going to outdo ourselves. We're going to outdo what we've already done at home. And we managed to do that because we left a space. They managed to recognize us, and we also managed to defy the limits, the preconceived ideas that the Western countries, that African people, they are not learned. Zimbabwe as a country is poverty stricken, nothing good comes out of it. And now, because we managed to win those awards, like the one my colleague mentioned, they now think of Africa and Zimbabwe differently because we gave them a taste of it. We just hope this is the beginning of something really, really big for the university as a whole.
My name is Kudakwashem Zenda. I'm a Tutu law student at Hebej Tepo Law School at Great Zimbabwe University. I'm extremely excited about the achievements that we managed to make in Chicago, particularly because it proved to me that Hebej Tepo Law School is a school that meets international standards, that can compete on the global arena. And I'm quite confident that the education we are receiving in Zimbabwe is as good as any education that anybody else is receiving elsewhere in the world. Coming to the competition specifically itself, it was a huge learning experience because we went in there without much idea or understanding of what mediation is, because we are yet to do any courses that deal with mediation at Hebej Tepo Law School. So it was really intriguing and interesting to learn from international experts. We've been doing this, and this competition has been around for 15 years. So it was a really great opportunity to learn from these experts. Some of them were retired judges, law professors, and to also mix and mingle and compete with students from all over the world, from India, Singapore, America, and Europe itself. I want to acknowledge the support that we got from our great institution, the only university of choice, by giving us an opportunity to go this far and become the first African university to go there. It is interesting to note that while we had traveled with our dean and our coach, Mr. Zobo, the vice chancellor also took time out of his busy schedule. He was already in America on another trip, but he took time to see us. And that is really motivating and inspiring to note that